Come with soft focus to the mountains. Yes, just like any other city dweller, soft focus sometimes needs to get away from it all and go to the Catskills, home to the bobcat, the muskrat, the white-tailed deer, the milk snake, and the bog turtle. There we can roam around a lake or traipse through a rarely used resort to contemplate just where it all went wrong. Or we could ask someone. If we get lucky, we could ask one of the greatest groups in rock and roll history. The group Suicide, composed of Alan Vega and Martin Rev. They're architects, pioneers, poets. I can't wait to talk with them.
Soft focus.
Alan, I'm Ian. Nice to meet you. Yeah, it's a pleasure. I opened up for you guys in Washington, D.C. Like 3 or 4 years ago, called Weird War and the Black Hat.
What's Weird War? Yeah, Washington, D.C. What was the last time?
We played Washington?
Yeah, it was amazing.
Maybe longer ago.
It was an amazing show.
Yeah, it was raining all the way down, man. Like a torrential thing from New York to Washington. It was like, we were like floating, hydroplaning all over the place. I mean, literally for 400 miles, or however long it was to Washington.
I do the complaining, we gotta talk. Right. It's a different kind of talk.
Oh, God, this is, no, I ain't gonna say it. I don't want to complain anymore, man.
Everybody says that you guys were the first, and I'm wondering, do you feel like maybe it would be better to be the last? Is it better
It's
to?
better. And people always say, it's like, who would you prefer to be? I like to be number 2 or number 3. I never want to be number 1 anymore.
Yeah, number one's rough.
It's the worst, because you're the one neglected until you're dead, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, but of course, we have no choice in the matter. You know, it's just,
Well,
that's the way it was.
When you guys started, okay, because the format of Suicide, it kind of demolishes rock and roll. Like the old rock and roll band you guys kind of started this, thing, like destroying it. And was that on purpose, or was it just the circumstance?
No, it was out of necessity. It was a purposeful necessity. There was no choice. We were in so deeply into our own thing and our own art by the time we hooked up. We just had to carve out whatever place we could to do it. We came in at a time where there was an old world, really. There was a world ending.
Yeah.
Came in there and did what we did.
Previous to us, it was, like the Stooges and the Velvet Underground, and where that was leading. And Marty Tom was doing his jazz, I was doing art and electronic music at the time. And we both knew. We saw it, man. It was so obvious. We didn't need the drum anymore. We didn't need the guitar anymore. We were just like, hey, let's move this on to another place.
Yeah. Was it economic? Like, was there an economic aspect?
Very economic. We couldn't afford to have to have a band, to keep a band together, have a place to rehearse.
That was the other thing.
But there really wasn't any precedent for the electronic, for the two-man thing. It was personal necessity musically, too, because I realized that when you put a band together the same way, as the same format, sometimes you also limit your possibilities musically.
Yeah.
Format also dictates a certain amount of musical stuff.
Yeah.
And I wasn't hearing that anymore. I was hearing something else, and
You guys form in the 70s. What's the context at that point for you guys playing this kind of music?
We were the only band in New York at the time, I think. Of course, playing, because we came at least 2 years before the Dolls, maybe more.
Well, they were rehearsing. Yeah, you didn't know about them. It's true. But they were, a lot of bands were rehearsing.
That's true. That's okay.
But it's true. You didn't know. We felt like the only band because nobody knew each other. There weren't any clubs open. It was empty. It was an empty scene, totally.
So there's no context to understand you guys.
No, and that's why there were times when we thought we were totally crazy too. We couldn't play gigs. It was hard to get gigs, so we just played for hours upon hours in this loft in Manhattan, and make tapes, then listen back afterwards and go, are we insane or not? Because there was no way to judge it. There was nothing to judge it with, in a sense. It was like we knew. I loved it. I knew it was great, but at the same time I thought, man, we've got to be insane. Yeah,
were you guys into, there's obviously an old rock and roll aspect. The New York sound at the time was kind of bubblegum, Cat's Castanets,
I
that
wasn't
kind of stuff?
personally. I was New York, Philadelphia. I was New York sound from late '50s, '60s. So that was my roots. That's what I grew up with. When we made rock and roll, that's what I related to. I related to that trimmed down, the pure, beautiful energy of
Yeah.
beat and rock. And I found it using what I used, and we found it together. And
I read an interview with you where you were talking about how, like, when Suicide started, people were looking for fantasy, and they came in, and you gave them the street.
Right.
People couldn't handle it. But now that people have come around and people understand and love Suicide, do you think people are escaping fantasy and do they want that kind of thing?
It's different. I mean, it's not
I
the
think
same. You
it's,
can't create that kind of revolutionary thing now anymore. I don't believe, although I could be wrong. There could be some band comes along with something that's so beyond what I can even imagine. People are so hip to that, so hip. Everything's so instantaneous now.
Yeah.
Every new sound, every new thing. Blah, 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 blah,
I think everybody's looking for different things too.
Yeah.
Some people want to hear you because they heard what you did then, or they want to hear you because they know, they like the fact that you can, you do something, and they, and they want to hear something new too, and they, everybody comes for something else. Maybe we're giving more fantasy now than other groups.
Yeah.
So
Well, times have changed. I mean, we went through hell for at least the first 10, 15 years when every night was like a riot. I used to think I was going to die at any gig, any show. I literally walked on stage and every night said, okay, I'm dying tonight. And getting close sometimes, believe me, man. And then one day, I don't know, we started playing. All of a sudden, suddenly people were digging on us, man. We did a whole tour of our own. Just after we opened for The Clash, which was hell on earth. You would think The Clash was going to be cool, but it wasn't.
It's hell for the Clash too.
We were in the first show of that tour after The Clash, and we've been pummeled to death for a month. Was what's that place in Scotland?
Edinburgh.
Edinburgh, that really beautiful town, man. And we're doing this show, and I remember that was a disco ball in that thing too.
Right.
But the lights weren't on. It was crowded. It was packed. It was a very low stage, very dangerous situation to be in. But it must have been a couple of thousand people there. All of a sudden, about the third or fourth song, I see people starting to mill around, but it's dark, so you didn't know what's really going on. All of a sudden, the disco ball went on. And all of a sudden, there's lights glittering all over the place, and everybody is dancing. I'm going, oh my God. So I walk out to Marty, I say, Marty, I think my job is over with me. Like, I'm trying to create some kind of crap here, and people are dancing. What am I supposed to do now, So it was basically the end of my career, It was, now I'm in the Tony Bennett phase of my thing,
Do you ad-lib pretty much all the time? Or are you guys at, like...
Yeah, pretty much all the time.
Yeah. People always just say the thing I love most about Suicide was the fact that you never could catch the same show twice.
Yeah.
Most singers, they just love their lyrics so much they never forget them.
Yeah.
I, on the other hand, every day is a new day. It's hard for me to sing something I sang even a year ago because the world changed so much.
Yeah. You can play the old material, somehow it sounds fresh. Like, is it your kind of jazz approach to ad-libbing and stuff?
Everybody's different, Certain people make music and they can't do the same thing the same way. They just can't do it. It's not in them. Some people can play the arrangement from the album that will go on tour for 9 months and do it every night. And usually they're a lot more successful doing that. But, it works for them.
Yeah.
It's a searching process. Some people are happy to stop searching that much. They search maybe in other areas of their life.
Yeah. There's been a lot of punk histories written, like all these kind of histories. Like there was one called Please Kill Me, and you guys are sort of left out of it. It seemed weird to me.
Yeah, we did a lot of interviewing for that. I did personally, Alan probably did too. I did 6 hours, and I did all these cassettes. And then when Legs gave me the book, there was nothing in there at all. And I realized why, though. And I realized why was because everything we said, I know everything I said because we did it separately, did not support. I mean,
The
he
thesis.
wanted, the social, the drug thing, and he really wanted to frame it like that. And I guess I was talking about more the whatever.
You were being too esoteric or intellectual.
No,
I wasn't telling about everybody's drug habits and stuff.
Yeah.
As much.
Next time.
They ignored us historically for the first 20 years at least. But then it's like everything else, the critics changed. They had those old line guys like this guy, Chris Gow, and the guy who pretty much ruined rock and roll with his gradings of in the Village Voice, A, B, C, D. Suicide got something like an X, or a Y. And then it just slowly but surely, so people were writing books, history of rock and roll, and we were excluded as usual. Until something in the 90s. Then it started. It started originally in England and in Europe, books were coming out of there. Suddenly suicide is getting mentioned.
Yeah, why do you think that is? I was going to ask you.
I don't know. I think people are just smarter there or something.
It's all that socialized
better
medicine.
educated
That's one of the-
or something. You know, they learn to read and write and listen and,
Europe's always been.
you know, I don't know.
And they were less threatened because whenever you come from a country, you know, we were kind of considered subversive too. We were subversive to the power structure of the music business.
It's that way also for artists in their own countries. I think the Pistols had a harder time in England than they had in America, for example.
Yeah.
So I think it's like everybody doesn't want to see their own dirty laundry.
Yeah.
You know, and so being American, you know, it's been like called suicide is pretty like coming across as anti-American or anti-war or anti-whatever it is, you know. So we're respected for that on that level, man. But they also have a history of experimentation, you know.
Yeah.
Whether it's music or it's the sciences or writing or whatever, they're just more experimental. Their architecture has always been so much more beautiful.
They're more into the public sphere,
Yeah,
developing the public sphere.
absolutely, absolutely. And
Because
that's
a
at
lot of
every
people,
level.
a lot of them live with their parents, so they have to have a beautiful piazza, which is fine. I think it's nice. So I know you're probably sick of talking about this, but the Bruce Springsteen thing, he closes his concerts with one of your songs, "Dream Baby Dream," and do you guys have an association with him, or?
I maybe have a little bit more because he came to the studio when Suicide was doing his second Suicide record. Bruce was recording The River at the time. He came in to check us out, and he loved it. He loved it immediately. And I got to talking with him. And I used to keep a bottle of booze around. We sneak into the men's bathroom. You know what I mean? It was like back in high school again, man. Turned out to be a great guy. And I hadn't seen him since about that time, 81, 82. And then I get a call to some guy's going to be picking me up to bring me to Bridgeport, Connecticut. He wants me to come. And I walk in. He's ending his sound check. And he walks over to me, comes up, picks me up like a bear hug. Like we just saw each other the other day or something. It'd been like 20 some odd years ago, which is great because now everybody's like looking at me, who the fuck am I? You know, the boss is picking me up, man. I was flying for weeks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like, because what happened was we were singing a song and then everybody started to like the lighters and shit, man, for Dream Baby Dream. And I'm also, man, this is the national anthem. This is the new national anthem of America, man. And the funny thing is, we almost got to the Super Bowl, man.
I was just going to say, it was up for the Super
Almost got
wow.
played at the Super Bowl. It was that close, man. And I'm going, I know it, for Obama, you know, this is it. This is the new national anthem.
Yeah.
Obama's going to want to put this song down as a new friggin' national anthem, man.
Well, what do you think of that? The new Michael Moore movie, the premise of it is capitalism is inherently evil. What do you think of that?
Everything is inherently good and inherently evil. It's just how you use it. But the hype of capitalism, the way it's taught and the way the hypocrisy of the way it's presented, not evil, but it's baloney. It's a sell. It's not true. We don't have pure capitalism here. We never did. We have the last bastion of the theory of capitalism, maybe the purest left, if you can say. But there's plenty of socialism here, and you can see it immediately when things start going down and the government starts bailing out, especially the upper classes.
Yeah.
It's socialism. And they start talking about nationalization right away, and you start taking over the banks. It didn't take long to come out right away. Nobody's saying a thing about it.
Yeah.
You got to use it. You got to use everything. You got to use socialism when you need it, and use some communism, use some socialism, use some capitalism. Just don't come up and say we got the system like we've got the religion, and it's all us and everybody else is bad. Or that's.
Well, is that what's kept you guys like fresh? Because there's no total ideology behind it, like.
You can stay and do your own music and never work with anybody and still be fresh. But I think it's true that if ideologies can tend to limit you at some point. I mean, if you keep changing and you keep growing, you realize you grow out of your ideologies. You might have one for a month, one for 6 months, one for a year. You can't stay in them too long and become a box.
Yeah.
I find. Art is like a mirror. It shows you. One day you wake up and you go, holy shit, man, you are ugly today. Because you haven't changed. You're not doing your shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. The muses don't accept that stuff.
How about science fiction? Like what?
Well, I'm the science fiction guy?
You're the science fiction.
What do you figure?
It's great. Science
No, I love
fiction
it,
is
man. I love it, man.
Yeah.
I just wish there was
reads a
more
lot
of it.
stuff.
I wish there was better of it.
It's really prescient. It's like the only social commentary.
Well, something, it's funny because I started reading this stuff in my youth, way back, 9 centuries ago. I find that most everything that I read has come true. Mm-hmm. And I always would tell everybody, I said, they're coming up with these ideas now that seem so extreme and so far out. It's coming from somewhere, man,
Yeah.
These ideas are coming in there. So it means that this is going to be a reality. I don't know, it seems to be an impasse on science fiction now. There doesn't seem to be anything new right now. Any new ideas are coming. You search around for new authors and new people and new filmmakers, and it's all the same old stuff now, unfortunately. But I'm waiting, like I used to wait with bated breath for the next Stooges record or the next something record, and waiting for the, the science fiction writer, man,
It may be because it's less mysterious now. I mean, then, like in the 50s, 60s, there really was this science future. There's a digital age that hadn't happened yet. And now we're in it so much that, when you write about it, you're not really, it's not such a surprise maybe as it was then. So you got to really search for something like 1,000 years from now.
It's time to find a real alien, man.
Yeah, that's the next.
That's the next thing.
Right.
That could take I don't know how long. Man,
it's bigger than science fiction.
You said in one of your songs, aliens don't land here anymore.
Did I?
Yeah.
Oh, that's popular. Yes.
It's a good line.
Look, 250 songs later, sometimes I forget, man. I'm like,
aliens don't land
like
here.
Elvis, he forgets his lyrics too, man. But
aliens don't want to land here anymore because
that sounds like me, man.
Yeah.
Who wants to go to this garbage dump, man?
Yeah.
They're flying over Earth. They go, oh man, that place sucks, man. Let's get the fuck out of it. Let's go find something else, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I would be that way, coming to checking out this place, man. At this moment in time, Jesus, man. I mean, it's like. This place is about ready to explode.
When would you have wanted to land on Earth, ideally?
Oh, I wouldn't know, man. During the dinosaur era or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Check those things out, people.
Yeah.
Those aliens out. Talk about aliens.
They were peaceful, and they worshipped Earth goddess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, right.
Goddess.
The god of the trees.
Right. Key word.
I actually think for me personally, I would have liked to have landed at a time when Hitler was rising to power, man, and stopped that bastard, man, That time in history is like, blows my mind. There are some people who are inherently evil, whether they know it or not, or they've been possessed by I don't know what, to kill so many people, to be so on the other side of brilliance. You get a country like Germany, great artists, great writers, great history.
Yeah.
You get an asshole like that, man, in the mix, and everybody follows. Of course, it was a depression, and people, I guess, were like looking for some kind of something. But then you get a Mussolini, bigger idiot.
Before World War II, every country in Europe was fascist, pretty much, besides England and France.
Well, it started World War I and the whole thing. No, it started way before that, all stupid war.
Yeah.
The Germans and the French. The French ever arrived on time at the Maginot Line. They beat the Germans already, man. The Germans always arrived on time.
Yeah.
The French are back there in Paris still drinking wine, and they arrived late for the war, man.
Americans are even later.
The reason
Americans even later, right? Well, they're smarter. They let them kill each other off, then we'll come in and take it all, man.
Well, that was on purpose, right?
That's true. 80% of, well, I don't want to sound like a nerd, but anyway, 80% of German casualties in World War II were on the Russian front.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
They did the same thing as Napoleon, man. They made the same mistake.
Same mistake.
And then the British come in and get the glory.
Two fronts of the same thing.
They got killed by the cold,
Yeah.
The Russian winter. Ba-dum.
Yeah.
They died of frigidity, the Germans.
Frigidity.
Frigidity, whatever.
They couldn't reproduce.
Frostbite.
Well, so
We played in Germany. We played in Russia.
you played in Russia.
Moscow.
Yeah, that was amazing, man, because I got some Russian blood in me, man, and it's like...
July 7th.
It was like going back...
2007.
It's going back in time, man.
They've been waiting for us for a long time. They had wanted us to come out for
Yeah, it was great.
quite some time. It was an incredible vibe, very feeling.
There's something in our blood, man. It's like connecting again, man. It was like, I didn't expect it.
Yeah.
All these pictures of Lenin still on the buildings, carved into the building. Just the people. We sit in that park that day. Remember that day, the park?
Yeah.
Beautiful park in Moscow, man.
Yeah, it's a big park there.
And we were just sitting there and watching all the beautiful girls go by, back and forth and back and forth. And just like, oh, man. And then we did a great show. Did a really great show.
Cool. What about disco music? How did that affect you and the disco
Well, personally,
craze?
I'll tell you, disco, everybody's putting it down when it first came in because rock and rollers, they said, no, for good reason, because it wasn't relevant. It was an entertainment music.
Yeah.
I heard it right away. It was great because first of all, it was coming off the streets. The disco groups were coming off like the rock and roll groups originally. They were coming out of the neighborhoods. They were coming out of Brooklyn. They were coming out of Coney Island. And they were using electronics, Like Donna Summer, I Feel Love. They were using drums. They're starting to use it. Rock and roll hadn't gotten to that at all yet.
Yeah.
We were doing it, but And so I heard the affinity right away. And then you had all these songs that were like, yeah, there was a hokey quality to them, but at the same time, it was a new thing.
Yeah.
It was rhythm and blues in its next phase.
Yeah.
pre-rap. Rap was the next.
Pre-rap music, man.
Rap was the next part of rhythm and blues.
So what's the next step?
The next step is just to grow. Sometimes it happens from individuals, like in art, you've had movements for centuries. And then sometimes you reach a place where you have individuals doing things within, for a while.
So many innovations are born from some technical thing. Like for example, the drum machine.
Technology, absolutely.
Necessity.
You see, when the painters went out to, when they started doing landscapes, when they left their studio and they started getting light, natural light, like Cezanne went out to the fields, you know what? Because they invented the tube,
Oh,
the
yeah?
paint tube. Yeah, because now they could go out. Before, they had to mix their own colors, so they had to stay indoors, because if they went outside into the air, all the shit would blow away. all
Oh,
the
yeah,
powder.
yeah, of course.
Sure,
So that's why they never went out there, and you never had impressionism or anything. They couldn't paint from life. They had to paint in the studio, artificial light. It changes every, sure. You hear a sound sometimes, you buy a drum machine, it's like found art. You buy something, and you find one sound there, you can write an album from it.
You got lucky, too.
I'm always lucky.
You got found a drum machine and no, we were at impasse at that point.
Oh.
So we were at an impasse as what to do. Somehow we knew it was going to be the two of us because we knew we were going to be doing this for the rest of our lives somehow.
I had it in
Most
my
musicians.
mind for a while, it's true. I had it in my mind for a while to have a drum machine, because I remembered these guys who I saw in these hokey little gigs, like places, playing these little weddings for like 50 people with an accordion or something with a drum machine. It was like the worst stuff, but it was, playing mambos and
Yeah.
people would be dancing. But the drum machine stayed in my mind. So I was hearing it, and then I went to get the drum machine, and I find somebody way out, like in Long Island, selling a drum machine for $30. I take the train out there. It turns out I try it out to a couple, an older couple, and they take me down the basement. And this thing is sitting there. I'd never seen anything like this before. Really humble thing, but I plug it in, I put it with the headphones, whatever, and wow, I can use this. I hear right away.
Yeah.
I can use this thing. They say, how much? $30. Okay, it's just about all I had. And then they tell me the story that it was their daughters. It's amazing. Their daughter was probably about my age, 20, 21 at the time, 22, and she was a poetess. She wrote poetry, and she committed suicide just before. This is like maybe a month before, 2 months, and they were selling her drum machine. And I thought, since then too, to think about it now, here's a girl like in 1974, 5, a girl, no less, with a drum machine, writing poetry, and obviously writing songs, or thinking of writing songs. That's early. She was there before I was, she was doing it when I was doing it. Thinking, she already had the drum machine. So that kind of hit me. That's a cosmic kind of coincidence, possibly. But anyway, that was the drum machine. Then I brought it in, and we set it up, and we were in this basement where we lived, Alan lived, and we rehearsed, and hooked it in, and it
It
just...
was the ugliest looking thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it's
Some of
hard.
the things you can't open it up.
People have been asking me for years,
Sealed
who
tight
makes
forever,
it?
man.
What is it? It wasn't a regular drum machine. It was made by the people who made bowling alley pinball setters. But we hooked it in, we plugged it in, and right away we had like 5, 10, 15 songs. It worked. I heard it right away. It was all bass, it was all kick, it was beautiful.
Yeah.
It was deep, So that was a new world. It was a new world, and we sank into it right away.
How about this?
Definitely.
Is a group a love affair with yourself?
Even if you don't have a group, it's like having a love affair with yourself. No, yeah. Or doing music on your own is a love affair with yourself. A group is a love affair with yourself.
It could be a hate affair too, man.
It can be a hate affair.
There's a thin line.
It's a
Yeah,
lo- it's
very
a-
thin line.
There's a certain love affair with the people in the group too. A love-hate affair too. You are creating like a family, a universe, a marriage. In in reality, it turns out we're probably the longest band that ever stayed together that had the same people in it. But there's only 2 of us, so it's that's part of the advantage.
I always call ourselves probably the only true democracy left on this planet. It's like, he might like something a lot, and I can't do a lyric to it. I say, Marty, I can't really do this. So he'll let go, and vice versa. Marty say, man, I really like this, and can we do this stuff? So we pretty much have to both agree on a particular song, but you could do it. So we got this thing, this really, like I say, many times we don't see each other for a while or don't talk to each other for long periods of time, but we're always together in some crazy way. We know each other, how many years already, man? Close to 40, right? We started in the late 71, right? I probably knew you in 70 already. So add it all up, man. Jesus Christ, man, it's close to 40.
Hey, I want to thank you very much for
Good
talking
interview.
to
Yeah,
me. Thank you so much. It's a pleasure. Yeah. Thanks for coming.